called to the cloud. Just unmuting Hannah. So we're going to, on our backs, just remind myself, because it's not quite what I planned. Yeah, on our backs, we'll do a bit of tilting our knees, a bit of rolling into bridge pose. We'll do a bit of this one-legged bridge pose, and then we'll do some of these ones, Ruth, yeah, where we're rocking.
Oh, fantastic.
That's what I wasn't going to do with you. I think they would be helpful for if you're back really tight. Hannah, nice to see you.
Hiya, sorry I'm late. Just one of those days where I've not really.
We're just starting actually.
Right.
So
thank you.
Did you catch those things I was showing you on my back when I?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Thank you for upper back. Yeah.
So we are going to start lying down. I hope that's a pleasant proposition.
Right.
To start on the backs. It usually is, isn't it? I think.
Yeah,
so.
Always.
Settle down onto your back. Jude, we've just lost you, but hopefully you'll reappear. We've got you again, Jude. So settle down onto your backs, and just to begin with, lie however you're most comfortable. So it could be your knees bent, or it could be your legs long, whatever you prefer. And just settle yourself down onto the ground. And maybe, because we often do this in class, so it's good to feel that even though you're not in my house, that not too many things have changed. So maybe to start with a couple of big sighing breaths. And I think certainly Kayla, for the end of your day, you definitely need to do a couple of big sighing breaths. And so just, can we let go of some of that stuff and just arrive on the breaths? And it's not going to happen immediately, but it's just the beginning of this process. Hold on, Jude. Icons to watch the video. Sorry. Hold on. Jude's just having some problems here. Right, so yes, settling down onto your backs. Feeling the weight of your body settled on the ground. And the first thing you're going to do is start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left, as we often do, and just using this very easy movement to start to help you feel into how your body is right now. And it might be like Ruth was saying, she was feeling stiff in the upper back. It might be that you're feeling stiff in the lower back or creaky around the pelvis. Just really taking a bit of time to understand how your body is feeling this evening. And then from tilting your knees, let your legs settle down. And keep your knees bent, keep your feet standing on the floor. And then come to letting your pelvis tilt up and down on the floor. So you're tipping your pelvis away from your head and towards your head. So it's a small movement. We're not heading into bridge pose yet. Just this small movement. And I'm going to lie down just to show Jude, as she can't seem to be able to hear us. So tipping the pelvis away from your head and towards your head. If anyone's unsure, you can look at me. So in one orientation, your lower back is arching away from the floor. And then in the other orientation, you're flattening out that lumbar curve. Good. And then what I'd like you to do from here is then move on into bridge pose. So just keep it easy, and maybe 3 times I'd like you to roll up into bridge pose. So Jude, I will show you again, just in case you can hear me. So starting to tilt your pelvis away from the floor, rolling up through your spine, and then rolling back down again. That's nice. And again, just seeing how bridge pose feels, keep it easy. So Ruth, bridge pose is quite helpful when you start to, you know, for the upper back. Don't push it, but just sort of see where you get to when you're rolling up each time and then rolling back down again. Okay, so when you've done this 3 times, just settle with your pelvis on the floor. And that's it. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And what we're going to do now, and I'll show Jude again, is you're going to do the one where you keep your right knee bent and you lengthen your left leg out on the floor. So we're going to be doing the one where we start to press into the right foot and let the pelvis tilt over towards the left. And keep repeating that movement. Good. So as you do this movement, make sure you're sending your knee forwards over your footprint. So your knee moves forwards over your foot. Your pelvis lifts on the right side and tilts towards the left. So Panna, I think it might help you to have your foot a bit closer into your bottom, the foot that's standing on the floor. Yeah, try that. Good. That's nice. So maybe do that a couple more times on this side, and you could coordinate the movement with your out breath, pressing down into your right foot. Okay, and then let that go. Lengthen both legs out on the floor. So just lie with both legs long. Give your legs a little bit of a roll. Yeah, I'm just demonstrating for Jude's sake. And then bend your left knee. Stand your left foot on the floor. And you're going to come to pressing, doing the same thing on the left side, pressing into the left foot, letting your pelvis tilt over towards the right. And see how that feels. Good. Very nice. And again, like I was saying on the other side, I find it really helpful to press into my foot as I'm exhaling. Good. Lovely. And your knee travels straight forward over your foot. You feel the pelvis lifts, the weight rolls to the left side of the pelvis and maybe to the outer edge of the left leg. Once more on that side, and then lengthen that leg out on the ground. Now, you're going to either lie with your legs long or your knees bent, and you're going to take your arms up into prayer pose over your chest with your elbows straight and your hands stuck together. And we're going to do that movement where we start to rock side to side across our upper back. Letting the weight rock towards the left shoulder and then the right shoulder. And just remember, if your knees are bent, you're not letting your pelvis move. If your legs are long, your pelvis can't really move. That's it. So rock side to side. That's it. Let your head move in the same direction as your arms and don't let your elbows bend. Yeah. So the elbows stay straight. The hands don't slide on each other. That's nice. We're going to do this a couple of times, so maybe bring the arms down and have a little rest for a couple of breaths. Let the arms come to rest on the floor. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then we're going to do the same movement again. So come back when you get the arms to rest, come back to the same movement again. But this time you can try, once you've done a few times of the same movement, then try taking your head and your arms in the opposite direction. That's it, Kayla. So keep the arms in the same position, but take the head and the arms in opposite directions. So you might not be able to go very far. So you might have to do less. Make sure your hands are not sliding on each other. Good. And Ruth, if it feels very tight, don't push it. And then come back to the head and the arms going in the same direction. And then let that all go. Let your arms come to rest on the floor beside you. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then one more time, you're going to come back to bridge pose, so bending both knees, standing both feet on the floor. How does it feel? Maybe 3 times again to roll up and down through bridge pose, keeping it easy. Good. Very nice. And just notice how maybe bridge pose has changed a little bit from doing the other movements we've done. Maybe there's a bit more possible, maybe it just feels a bit easier. That would be nice. We don't have to be going anywhere further, but it might just feel a bit easier. And then in your own time, when you've done bridge pose, maybe 3 times, then you're going to fold your knees into your chest, hold around your knees, and come to a little bit of rocking from side to side, across the back of your body. So at this point, you can do a little bit of rocking across the back of your body. And if you like, you can pause in the middle and take your arms and legs out and give them up, rather, and give them a shake out. Oh, which is very, very nice. And then from here, you're going to roll onto one side and we're going to make our way over onto hands and knees. So Ruth, I thought you'd be pleased to hear we're working with some sequences tonight.
What a great class.
I think they'll probably hopefully be helpful for your upper back as well.
I appreciate this, thank you.
That was great.
Coming on to hands and knees, and maybe just a little bit of arriving here. So make your hands are under your shoulders and your knees are under your hip joints. And the first thing you can do is a bit of circling. So circling your shoulders over your hands and just letting yourself settle here. Circle one way, circle the other. And then let yourself settle in the centre. And you're going to do some cat movements. So when you're ready, rounding your back to the ceiling, keeping your spine down to the floor. And see how those movements feel today. So we're going to be doing quite a lot of movements today where we're thinking about these lengths through the back of the body. So when you round your back to the ceiling, your back lengthens out. And when you dip your spine down to the floor, the front of your body lengthens. You let your belly fall down towards the floor. And whenever you're ready, from your rounded up cat, you're going to rock your hips. So you're going to round your back and then rock your hips back over your heels so you arrive in child pose. And just settle there. So it always takes a little bit of time to adjust to being in this new position. So we've got the hands beneath the belly. Jude suddenly got sound. Jude, have you suddenly got sound?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Very pleased to hear it. So, from hands and knees, from child pose, come on back onto hands and knees and tuck your toes under. So on hands and knees, you have your toes tucked under, and we're just going to do a bit of rocking forwards and back, very simply. Not really forwards, just this rocking with the toes tucked under, rocking the hips back over the heels, and then bring your shoulders back over your hands. So as you rock back, you're really asking your toes to bend. It's good for them. And you could coordinate this with your breathing. You could be breathing in to come here. You could be exhaling to rock back. And in a moment, from the rocked back position, you're going to move into dog pose. So you could exhale, rock back, let a breath come in, and then see how it feels to let the knees pick up off the ground. And a little bit of walking on the spot, bending one knee, bending the other knee. How does dog pose feel today? Yes, good. Big yawns in dog pose. You're going to do a couple of dog poses in your own time. Good. Keep thinking I hear a dog barking in the background.
That was quite funny, quite synchronised. It's Luca. It's us.
I think dog and it starts. Oh, is that Luca? Sandra?
Yeah,
No?
and Faith is playing hide and seek in the gardens, but there's a lot of noise.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's good. There we go. We've got the dog accompaniment to dog. So a couple of dog poses, and then you're going to be, having a couple more breaths in child pose. We're just starting to ease ourselves into mood. So in dog pose, you can feel how do the backs of the legs feel? It's all about this feeling of lengthening out through the back of the body. You can obviously bend both knees, bend one knee. Really plant the hands. So Ruth, for the upper back in dog pose, it probably is good to bend the knees quite a lot and take your feet quite wide. And so anyone else, yes, that's nice, Panna, having your feet wide like that. So if the upper back's feeling really tight, then having the feet really quite wide, bending the knees a lot, and really sending your pelvis back can sometimes help the upper back release. When you come out of this dog pose, maybe just watch me, because I'm going to, the sequences we're going to do this evening, some of you might remember from a very long time ago. It's not just last week. So what we're going to do first of all is put together the round of the cat and the rocking forwards and back. So with your toes, maybe just watch this before you do it. So with your toes tucked under, you're going to round back. Okay? Stay rounded, rock your hips back over your heels, and then come forwards, dipping your spine down. Okay? So try this with me now. Come onto hands and knees, toes tucked under. If that's not possible for your toes, you don't have to do that. So here, you could let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, you could round your back to the ceiling. Stay rounded, let a breath come in. Exhale, rock your hips back over your heels. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, bend your elbows a little bit. Let your spine dip down as you come back onto hands and knees. So just, repeat that a few times. Rounding your back, rocking your hips back over your heels, staying rounded, and then dipping your spine down to come back onto hands and knees. So we're really thinking about this movement of the spine. So rounding up, rocking back, dipping down to come forwards. Good. If you're bending your elbows, make sure they bend back towards you rather than out to the sides. Other thing, for those of you, if I can't see how you're organised on the floor, make sure your hands and knees are not too close together. Yeah? Just that distance between the hands and the knees should be roughly the length of your body. Very nice. Okay, just the next time you round your back to the ceiling, untuck your toes and rock all the way back into child pose, just for a couple of breaths. Feel the forehead on the ground, just let yourself settle for a moment. So, just important to take these little quiet pauses, feeling ourselves in child pose. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. So we're going to start to expand on this little mini sequence and make it into a longer sequence. So let's see. Yes, again, maybe come onto hands, just sit up for a moment and watch me. So what we're going to do now, and I think I'll show you the whole sequence and then we'll go through it together. So you're going to be rounding your back, just what you've done. You're going to do just what you've done the first time. Then we're going to round our back, again rock back. This time you're going to take your hands further forwards, but keep the elbows off the ground. The forehead can touch the ground. And we're going to travel into face up dog. All very familiar, I know. And then from face up dog, we're going to fold our hips back over our heels. And we're going to do this lovely one where we come back through kneeling and then press down through the tops of our feet and try to lift our pelvis. So it might be that some of you will need, at this point, a book, yeah, or a block under each hand. You could be on your knuckles, yeah. So if you think you need that, have those to hand. And, yes, and then I'll talk us on from there. But let's come back to the big one. So once we get into that little mini camel place, we'll spend a little bit more time there, making sure it works for everyone. But let's go through the rest of the sequence first because it's all more familiar. So your starting point is hands and knees with your hands, your wrists under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. Let a breath come in. When you're ready, round, toes tucked under, if you can, round your back to the ceiling. Rock your hips back over your heels. Let a breath come in here and then forwards, dipping your spine down. And then again, round your back to the ceiling. Rock your hips back over your heels, staying rounded. Now this time you're going to walk your hands a little bit further forwards, but don't let the elbows come down. Your forehead can touch the ground. Let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, you're going to be traveling into face up dog, rounding your back to the ceiling, looking at your pelvis. Watch your pelvis come forwards, untuck your toes, arrive in face up dog, let a breath come in. From face up dog, then fold back into child pose. And so from child pose, you're going to be coming up into kneeling. And you're going to be seeing, and so Judy, you might need to sort of sit on a few things here. If kneeling's not that easy for you, you might need to also possibly have a block or two, a book or two in between your heels and your bottom, in which case your pelvis probably won't lift much. So you're seeing what it's like here to support yourself through your hands, your fingers, your knuckles, even your palms. Press down into the tops of your feet and let your pelvis come up. And try that a few times. I'm just going to come closer so I can have a look. Yeah, so that's it. We're trying to send the pelvis forwards, good, into this little mini camel. Very nice. Be careful not to let your head hang back too much, unless you're really moving a long way. Lovely. And then from that mini camel, you're going to bring your hands forwards, plant your hands down, and come into dog pose. Just have a bit of a lengthen out in dog before we do that whole sequence another couple of times. So a bit of a lengthen out in dog. See how dog feels. If you're enjoying your dog, stay there. From dog pose, you're going to fold down either into kneeling or child pose, just to give your hands and your wrists a little rest. And then we'll come back onto hands and knees and carry on with the sequence. So when you're ready, coming on to hands and knees. That's it, tucking your toes under, letting a breath come in. You can just breathe as you like, or you can follow what I say, it's up to you. Rounding your back to the ceiling, rocking your hips back over your heels, looking back so you stay rounded. Traveling forwards on an out breath, dipping your spine down. And then again, rounding your back to the ceiling. Rocking your hips back over your heels, staying rounded, looking back. And then this time walk your hands a bit further forwards. You might touch your forehead to the ground, but not your elbows. Let a breath come in and then travel forwards on an out breath into face up dog. Again, rounding your back, look at your pelvis as it comes forwards. When you arrive in face up dog, untuck your toes, shoulders down away from your ears. Let a breath come in. And then folding back into child pose. In child pose, you're then sliding your hands in towards you into kneeling and moving through kneeling into our little mini. Well, you can see you are the light camel, so it's not necessarily that much of a mini camel. This one here. Big stretch, there's this big stretch through our quads. And then from camel once more, we come forwards, we plant our hands on the ground, we tuck our toes under, we exhale up into dog pose. A few breaths in dog, as long as you like, and then a couple of breaths in child pose or kneeling before we come on to our last sequence. This. Great. So, yes, come onto hands and knees. This time at the end, from dog pose, we will come up through a forward bend into standing. But we don't need to worry about that just yet. So, hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hip joints. Tuck your toes under, let a breath come in, rounding your back, rocking your hips back over your heels. Let a breath come in here. Exhaling, the spine dips down as you come forwards. Again, round your back, really feel that lower back lengthen out, looking back as you rock back. This time slide the hands forwards on the floor, maybe the forehead touches the ground. Then as you exhale, travel forwards into your face up dog, keep that back rounded. And your shoulders are over your hands, let the pelvis go. Shoulders down away from your ears, untucking your toes. And then exhaling back into child pose. Do you feel that you can have a breath or two in child pose? That's absolutely fine. Some of you I know are raring to get on into camel. So from child pose, sliding your hands in. How does it feel to do this lovely movement where we're pressing into the tops of the feet, sending our pelvis forwards. Good. Are we at? I think we're at NHS clapping time, aren't we? So we're going to go out and have a cheer. And then dog pose, forward bend, standing.
Disrupt yoga for a minute.
Yes, Sandra, I don't know, is there any cheering where you are?
No, but I could hear it. I could hear some.
Did you hear all the cheering?
I just leaned out the window and clapped Martin though.
I'm sure he deserves it, doesn't he? Yeah, it's funny. So every Thursday we've had this going out and cheering because it's
over now.
That was a lovely sequence. Lovely sequence.
Yeah. Oh, Sandra, it's the homeschooling. I mean, my goodness.
It's exhausting.
Oh my God, I just like, I feel I have no time for anything else at all.
No, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
Are the girls getting a lot of work?
Well, I see. I'm doing Mary. I'm pretty much doing Mary's stuff myself. I mean, I'm getting some stuff from her. And Gemma's, yeah, it's sort of up and down, but
Yeah.
it's a lot though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Faith had 7 classes today.
Wow.
It's mad.
There's more and more people out there.
Yeah. Right. Have we arrived in standing? Oh, if you haven't, if you're kneeling, come through dog pose and a forward bend into standing. That might be nice. If you're already in standing, you could stay there. I have a real dog who's a bit perturbed by all the noise. Come on, bed. Ooh. Bed.
Move the computer now.
Sorry, Kara, I got dragged out.
Don't worry, that's absolutely fine. Now, we're not going to have a particularly long period in standing. First of all, so is everyone back? Yes, I think everyone's back, aren't they? So why don't we first of all in standing come to our traditional swinging twist. We can enjoy all this space, hopefully, in your house. Swing the arms, just feeling the whole body in movement. Daisies coming in. Okay. And then what I'd like us to do is just think a little bit more about opening out through the front of the body. And we're going to come to the front of our mats and we're going to come to a bend. And then we're going to step each leg back in turn into lunge. And let's do our arms a little bit like sun salutes. So come to the front of your mat, feet hip width apart and parallel, hands touching in prayer pose. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let a breath come in, and then again with the exhalation, rolling down into your forward bend. Breathing in and then exhaling, stepping one foot back into lunge. And it doesn't really matter which one. Just let yourself arrive in lunge. And then in your lunge, you've got a few options. You could just be staying here, breathing. You could untuck your back toe and a little bit of this shifting your weight forwards and back in lunge. So that's a possibility. Another possibility, I'll just show you this way round, is some of you like this one where you take your hands onto the inside of your foot. So that's another possibility with lunge. And if you felt very lively, I'll do this one side on. If you felt very lively, you could tuck your toes under and back knee off the floor. That might be a bit going a bit too far. And then what we're going to do from this lunge is see how it feels to step back into a forward bend and then step the other foot back into lunge. So exhaling into your forward bend. Again, arrive in your forward bend. Make sure you let your head hang, you sink into your heels, and then exhaling, step the other foot back into lunge. And see how you feel on this side. And then again, like I said on the other side, it's very much up to you. What's helpful for you in lunge? Is it helpful to ease in and out? And that could be the case if you're feeling tight in the front of the hips. Also, if you're easing in and out, when you go back, you look back and your back rounds. When you come forwards, you can come onto your fingertips and you can flatten out a bit in your upper back. Or you could be walking that front foot over, out to the side, your hands come into the centre. You could be picking your back knee up off the floor if you're feeling that way inclined. And then we will step that foot, and then if you did walk your foot out to the side, bring it back to the centre, because we're going to step back into our forward bend. So exhaling, stepping the back foot forwards, arriving in forward bend, let your head go, let a breath come in. As you exhale, you're going to roll into standing, touching the backs of your hands together. all the way up into standing. Let a breath come in and then exhale, take your arms out to the sides, back into prayer pose in front of you. And then come back to the middle of your mats. And what I'd like you to do is bring a hand to your belly and a hand to your chest. And we're just going to start small with this, but you're going to think a little bit about looking up and letting your pelvis move forwards and your weight shift forwards in your feet. And then also, what's it like to look down a little bit and let the pelvis move back, let your chest soften and your weight shifts back into your heels. So you can gradually start to make these movements a little bit bigger. So you could, if you wanted to, release one arm. So it's probably quite helpful to have one hand on your pelvis, because if you look at me in these ones, what's really important is the pelvis moves forwards to counterbalance the head and the arms going back. You might well want to then roll all the way into a forward bend to lengthen out your lower back. Exhale, roll back up again. You can try the other arm coming up. And again here, for some of you, it's going to be helpful to bend your knees and drop your tailbone to feel more comfortable in the lower back. And again, we really want the pelvis to move forwards. And then you roll forwards again. Let your lower back lengthen out. Let your head hang. Sometimes the neck's not so happy in this. Roll up again. You can take both arms up and back. Again, the pelvis needs to move forwards. You might want to bend the knees. You can roll forwards again. Obviously, don't do these or don't go too far if they're not feeling good in your body. It's just quite good to move into them quickly and not stay there very long. There's this feeling of opening through the front of the body and feeling expansive, which I think is quite good at the moment. And Ruth, it might be quite good counterbalance to that, you know, feeling tight in the upper back. But keep coming back into a forward bend. There's one more variation that sometimes people like in this one, which is if your head doesn't like, if your neck's not so keen on it, is to support your head with your hands. How are we doing? Good. Now, in your own time, if you're enjoying these and you want to do any more, that's fine. What we're going to do to lengthen out the lower back is when you've had enough, you're going to come into a forward bend. You might need your book or your block at the ready, because from your forward bend, we're going to fold down into a squat. And just yourself settle for a moment in the squat. So this is where you might need to have something under your heels to let yourself stay in squat with your tailbone. And then from your squat, we're going to reverse the movement and come back to standing. So at this point, you're going to want to let your heels come off. If you've got a block under you, you're going to want to let your heels come up off the block, because you're going to start to send your heels down to the ground. You'll sit very back and you're going to roll up into standing. Very nice. And so arriving back in standing in the middle of your mat, come back to this one again. And then we're just going to, from swinging our arms, we're just going to settle in standing and have a few breaths in standing. So I'd like you again to come to have one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest, but this time just settling here and seeing how it feels to be in standing. And I'm going to come a little bit closer so I can just see you from lovely. So in standing, one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. You could close your eyes if you like. You could let yourself sway a little bit to the right and to the left. Feeling your weight coming into one foot, feeling your weight coming into the other foot. your arms go now, let your arms hang, and can you feel the shoulders are really heavy? Maybe shake out your hands a little bit. And then from swaying, can you just settle in the center? Feeling yourself in standing, feel the contact of your footprints on the floor. Feel the head on the top of your spine. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. We're going to come towards the back of our mat, and we're going to do a couple of buzzing breaths. Let's use our buzzing breath to take us. See where it's all. Someone's got rather noisy suddenly, but not sure where it is. So yes, at the back of our mat, we're going to have a couple of buzzing breaths. Well, we're going to have one buzzing breath in standing. We'll use another buzzing breath to take us into a forward bend, then in dog pose, then in child pose. So we're going quite slowly now, and we're just really trying to feel ourselves in all of the different positions. So start in standing at the back of your mat with the buzzing breath. So letting a breath come in. And let another breath come in, and then as you exhale this time, we'll go into a forward bend with the buzz. Then from forward bend, start to walk your hands forwards into dog pose. Let yourself arrive in dog pose. Just give yourself a moment to feel really settled, big handprints on the floor. You bending both knees if you like, and then we'll have a long buzzing breath here. So let the breath come in. And then from dog pose, folding down into child pose, and we'll have one more buzzing breath in child pose. So from child pose, we're going to look nearer. We're going to sit in. I'm trying to work out where there's background sound. I'm not sure. Does anyone know there's background?
Sarah.
Okay, I did try muting you and it didn't seem to go, but I'll try that again. It's a bit dark. Let's have a look. I've muted you. So we're going to come to sit in kneeling towards the centre of the mat. Can you sit all right? It looks terribly dark. Sit in kneeling towards the centre of your mat.
Nice.
I'm going to try and turn my light down a little bit more. See if that makes it that might be better.
That's better.
So you're going to let your bottom sit down. It doesn't matter on which side. Let your bottom sit down to one side of the floor and your feet go over onto the And you're sitting down with your bottom on one side, your heels on the other, and from here you can slide your feet apart into pinyin. And we're going to do something different in pinwheel this evening, because I thought you might be getting bored of it. So, but first of all, just a little bit of circling to help yourself settle. So circling clockwise, clockwise. Sorry, there's something crashed in my kitchen. I'm not quite sure what that was. Good. And then what you're going to do is look at me. You're going to, so look, find whichever knee is going out to the side, you're going to come to lean on that hand and arm. So you're letting your weight lean over onto that side. And then the other arm, we're going to start to swing around. And you're actually letting your whole body come with this arm. So you're turning towards the knee that's going out to the side and that arm that you're leaning on. And if you see, I'm swinging my arm out and I'm slapping myself on my back. That's quite nice. And just repeating that a few times. So break this down into stages. So the next time you slap yourself on your back, keep your hand there. Let your elbow drop. And then see, how does it feel to sink into your hand and let your pelvis come up? So a little bit like our mini camel, but different, because our legs are in a different position. Come back down, bring the arm out again. So swing the arm round, hand onto your shoulder, lean now into that arm that's supporting you, then come back down again. So pelvis comes down, you release your arm, you open your arm out, and then you can swing your arm round, hand onto your shoulder. This time, as your pelvis comes up, you can take that arm up towards the ceiling, look up towards the ceiling. And then come all the way down, hand onto your shoulder, releasing the arm. So we're going to do that twice more. So swinging your arm round, slap yourself on your back, rest your hand on your shoulder, lift the pelvis, and then reaching up towards the ceiling. So again, it's this feeling of opening through the front of our body. Coming out, all the way out, and then one last time. Through here to here. Just feel that sense of opening through the front of the body. This time, when you come back down, you're going to fold the weight of your body over this leg that's going out to the side. And that's nice for the lower back. You can let the lower back lengthen out at this point. And have a few breaths there.
That's a great stretch.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. So it's nice. This is a nice one, isn't it? Just, and I think it's one of the things at the moment I'm aware of. This just sense of life being a bit constrained. Our bodies can then feel constrained, and yeah. And if you're doing a lot of computer work, Ruth, there's that. It's getting very sort of tight and closed in the shoulder.
That's a really good one to do, actually.
Good. Well, then you can go onto YouTube and you can do it again. So from this side, let's just, before we do the other side, let's lengthen our legs out in front of us and just give the legs a roll. And then we'll see how it feels on side two. So as I said, we go into pinwheel in different ways. What we were doing today is from kneeling. This time we're going to let the bottom sit down on the other side, and the feet were on the side we were just leaning to. So make sure you come onto your and it's something here. Where's each you send? Okay. So a little bit of circling here in pinwheel. And then we're going to take the other hand, lean onto that arm and hand. So if you look at me, you're seeing I'm shifting all of my weight really onto the pelvis of this knee that's going out to the side. And then we start this movement of swinging the arm out and around and giving ourselves a slap on the back. And as you turn, you're letting everything turn. So my pelvis is coming along, and my rib cage, and my shoulders, and my head. And it all unturns when I come to here. Now this time you could keep your hand on your shoulder, drop the elbow, let the pelvis lift, try it a couple of times, just that movement of lifting the pelvis, because you might need to adjust where this hand is to make it easy for you. Then you can try that full movement of taking the arm up. So the arm swings round, you sink into your hand, you lift your pelvis, you reach up towards the ceiling, and then you undo that movement. You come all the way down. And then you swing around again, sink into the hand, coming back down. So if you wanted to do that one more time on that side, you could do. Swinging your arm around, leaning into your supporting arm, growing up to the ceiling. And then this time when you come back down, you're going to be folding over that knee that's coming out to the side. Settling the weight of your body down over your thigh, feeling your breath come in, feeling your breath leave you. Very nice. It's up to you whenever you're ready to come out. If you're quite enjoying being there, you can have a few more breaths there. Whenever you're ready to come out, it's probably quite nice to bring your weight back onto both arms. Lengthen your legs out, give your legs a little bit of a roll. And we're going to come in a moment and sit and do a little bit of breathing, just briefly. And before we do that, I'd like you don't necessarily have to sit cross-legged, but I'd like you to cross your ankles. Even if you don't normally sit cross-legged, because this is just a bit of preparation for sitting. So with your ankles crossed, can you do a little bit of circling? So you've got one ankle in front of the other. What's it like to circle your body over? That's it. But over your pelvis. So you're shifting your weight around on the sit bones. So the pelvis is moving. Legs might be moving a little bit, but it's mainly the pelvis and the body and the shoulders that are moving. And then you're going to see what's it like to change the cross of your legs. Put the other leg in front. Which is probably going to feel less comfortable. You probably did. So even like me, I tend to sit in these positions, but not necessarily cross-legged. I might sit in half lotus or maybe in pinwheel quite a lot. But the second side is probably going to feel even less familiar. So again, a bit of circling. And settling. So you might know by this point, for the breathing, whether you want to sit cross-legged, whether you want to sit kneeling. If you wanted to have your legs straight, you could put your back maybe a little bit wide. You could have your back against the sofa or the wall. So just find a place where you're going to be comfortable to sit, maybe for 5 minutes. Might not be that long. To sit and do a little bit of breathing. Completely in the dark. I want to be completely in the dark. So settling yourselves down, and we're going to do a very simple hand movement that helps us to bring our attention to our breathing, and then we're going to take it into a mudra, which I'm very keen on these mudras at the moment. I think they're very focusing in these strange old times. So maybe just start with your hands resting on your thighs, down, and a couple of big exhalations. Can you settle into your sitting and just check that you are going to be comfortable right now? Good. What we're going to do very simply is, as your breath comes in, you're going to turn both palms up to face the ceiling, resting the backs of the hands on your thighs. And then as you exhale, you're going to turn both of your palms down, bringing the palms onto your thighs. And just keep going with that. So breathing in, you turn your palms up. Breathing out, you turn your palms down. And the most important thing here is to give your breath plenty of time and space. So you're breathing through your nose, exhaling, the palms turn down, wait to the very end of your out breath. And then as the breath starts to come in, you turn your palms up again. Make sure you rest the backs of your hands on your thighs. And then as you exhale and you turn your palms down, make sure you rest your palms on your thighs. Breathing in, breathing out. Feel that there's all the time in the world for the inhalation to expand within you. And then as you exhale and turn your palms down, again, there's all the time in the world for the breath to leave you, for you to empty out, soften. And then again, as the breath comes in, you turn your palms up once more. Let's carry on perhaps for another 2 or 3 cycles of breath. Palms down as you breathe out. Palms up as you breathe in. And then finally finishing so that you have your palms facing up. So the backs of your hands are resting on your thighs. And this is a mudra, Pushpata mudra, means handful of blossom. So you're resting the backs of your hands on your thighs and you're imagining that you're holding handfuls of blossom in your hands. There's lots of beautiful blossom out at the moment, you may have seen on your exercise. And because you're holding handfuls of blossom, you want the hands to be very soft so that they don't crush any of the petals. Let yourself settle for a few breaths, imagining these handfuls of beautiful flowers and letting the fingers and the palms soften, the backs of the hands settle their weight onto your thighs. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leaving you. Dropping your shoulders, letting your elbows feel heavy. Then turn your hands, palms down once more on your thighs. And from there, it's quite nice to fold forwards and bring your hands onto the floor. You might even like to touch your forehead on the floor. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do now, because we're going to we have this awareness now in our hands, and we're going to use our hands on the floor. I'm just thinking of the best way to show you. So we're going to be doing these ones where we press into one hand, and then we'll be pressing into both hands, rolling side to side across the forehead, and then we'll press into both hands and come to here. So I think I'll talk you into these. So lie down onto your belly. How else is it going to work? Lie down onto your belly. And just settle. Sorry, was someone asking something? A little noisy at the moment. I'm just going to mute everyone until everyone is settled. So settle down onto your belly. And maybe the first thing you do is give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle to let the pelvis settle on the ground. Good. Very nice. Pelvis a bit of a wiggle. And then you're going to bring let's bring the right hand to stand on the floor beneath the right shoulder. So you want your right elbow to be off the floor and your hand is standing beneath your shoulder. Your left arm is down by the side of your body. And then what you're going to do, keeping your head on the floor, you start with your forehead on the floor, and then as you exhale, you start to press into your right hand and let your right shoulder come up, and you roll on your forehead towards the right. So look at me if you're not sure. We're pressing into this right hand, but the forehead stays on the floor. So you're rolling on your forehead rather than lifting your head off the floor. Good. Ah. Kayla, what am I seeing? It looks like you've got, are you on your back or your front?
No, I'm on my front.
On your front. So, okay, I couldn't quite, oh, that's fine. It's your shoulder. I was really confused. Thank you. I thought it was your knee. It's very strange sometimes. Good. Okay, and then swap over onto the other side. So you're bending, now you're going to bend your left hand and stand your left hand on the floor. Your right arm comes down by the side of your body. You're starting with your forehead on the floor, if possible, Ruth, otherwise you can be on the side of your head. And then as you exhale, pressing into your left hand, let the left shoulder move up, away from the floor, and let yourself roll on your forehead. So your gaze turns towards the left. So Ruth, this is another one that's really good for the upper back. I know sometimes it's a little bit challenging for you to have your forehead on the ground.
No, I can feel it. It's good.
Good. Okay, and then when you've done that, one hand at a time, you can stand both hands on the floor. So if you have both hands standing on the floor, and to start with, you press into one hand and then the other. So you're rolling side to side across your forehead. And that's really nice for the upper back, that one. Again, look at me if you're not sure about this. So pressing into the right hand, pressing into the left, my forehead's on the ground, I'm rolling across my forehead. Now, some of you I know quite like Cobra, so you can then pause in the center and press down into both hands, and at this point you do let your forehead lift off the floor. And you see how it feels to come up into Cobra. You could then come back down, do a bit more rolling across your forehead, pressing into one hand, pressing into the other. And then you can be coming up again, maybe try 3 or so Cobras. When you've had enough time on your belly, you're going to fold back into child pose. Very nice. I think I've got you muted now, so I'm going to unmute you. It must have been noisy at one point. No, actually, no, I don't think you are muted. Very nice. So remember, the difference with Cobra and face up dog is that in Cobra, your pubic bone, so this sort of bottom front of your pelvis, stays in contact with the ground, which probably for most of us means our elbows are bent. So it's a bit more muscular effort than face up dog. So come back into child pose. If you're not in child pose already, you're right there, Jan. So coming into child pose. We're going to, let's see, we're going to briefly go back onto our belly. So from child pose, you can slither. You're not going to be, actually, no, sorry. From child pose, you need to watch me first of all, and then we'll go back through our belly. So we're going to go onto our belly and just a couple of simple tilting our feet from side to side, just for Sam. And then when we come onto our backs, we're going to come back into this one. But what I would like you to do is see, how does it feel to add the hand in? Is this possible? Panna, you might need to be careful with your wrist. So if this is possible, adding the hand and the foot in. So you're pressing into the hand and the foot. So we'll do a bit of that where we're sending the knee forwards and the elbow back. But we'll also do it where it comes into a twist, where you then let this knee come across your body. See, my hand is still on the floor. I'm letting my knee, I'll show you on this side. So I'm pressing into the hand and the foot, and then there's the variation where we let the knee come rock across the body. My hand is still really planted on the floor. So that, Ruth, would be a very good opening for the upper back, indeed. So first of all, just come back onto your belly. Come back onto your belly and, yeah, hand to be back on your belly. Give your pelvis a wiggle. And then we'll do that, I say that nice one, the one that some of us like, where we bend the knees, soles of the feet point towards the ceiling, tilting the feet to the right and to the left. So I like to have my hands resting under my forehead. You don't have to do that. Just have your arms and your hands where it's comfortable. And then, if you're enjoying this, stay there. When you're ready to roll onto your back, you can roll all the way onto your back. And settle down onto your backs. So it's really nice to try and roll from your belly onto your back without getting up, if that's possible. If you've already got up, don't worry. Good. So you're coming to settle onto your back. And let's see, before you do anything else, just let yourself arrive on your back. And you could do a little bit of letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then let the feet settle in the centre. And you're going to keep your right knee bent and you're going to lengthen your left leg out on the floor. So first of all, a couple of times, just do the leg, just do the pressing into the right foot. Let the right side of the pelvis tilt away from the floor. So remember now, we're not letting the knee tilt to the right or the left. The knee's going straight forwards over your foot. So if you're going to try bringing your right hand into that position, that half back arch position, look at me if you're not sure. It's easier to get that hand into position. So it's like that, Panna, or I will show you on my back. It's easier to get that hand into position when your pelvis is off the floor on the right. So it's quite a lot easier to get that hand into position. If you can't get your hand to stand on the floor, you could just have the arm long by the side of your head. And see how that works. That's another possibility. And if you have got your hand to stand on the floor, then you're experimenting, playing around with this, pressing into your foot. And so for the moment, we're keeping the right foot standing on the floor. We're not going into that twisty movement just yet. So it's you're pressing into both the hand and the foot, trying to feel that the back of your pelvis and the back of your shoulder are coming away from the floor and your weight shifts towards your left side. Let your head also roll towards the left. Good. That's very nice. So the important thing to feel here is that your hand is planting into the floor, not sliding around. And when you've done this movement a few times with the knee traveling forwards over the foot and sinking into the hand, you could then try that second option I showed you, where you keep your hand sinking into the floor, but you start to let your knee tip over towards the left side of your body. That's it, very nice. So you've got to keep really planting into your hand, and the knee comes, that's it, across the body. Good. And again, you might just want to stay there for a few breaths, or you might want to try that movement a couple of times. Anyone's not sure, just ask me. I can see what some of you are doing and not others. But make sure, as with everything we do, you're not doing anything that feels uncomfortable in your body. It might feel there's a stretch, there's an opening, something is moving, but you don't want to feel discomfort. And then you've had enough on that side. Maybe just do something symmetrical. So it may be that you lie with both knees bent. You maybe hug your knees into your chest like you were doing, Sam, or you lengthen both legs out on the floor. So it's quite interesting, having done that on one side, we might feel a bit like a banana, longer through one side than the other. It might be nice eventually to lengthen both legs out on the floor, because you're then going to bend your left knee and bring your left foot to stand on the floor. Good. And then so a couple of times, just do the movement, pressing into your left foot, letting the left side of the pelvis come away from the floor. Your knee travels forwards over your footprint. And then remember, it's easier to bring your hand into place, standing on the floor next to your head, when your pelvis is off the floor. So that's the time to try bringing the hand into place if you're going to do that. Good. And then how does it feel to, yes, and Sandra, that's nice. I just thought about that one. You can, to help your hand settle, you can bring the right hand onto the left elbow and do a little bit of circling of the left elbow. That's a really, that's a really nice thing to do. And then you're saying, how does it feel to press into the left foot and the left hand? So the back of the left shoulder comes away from the floor. The left side of the pelvis comes away from the floor. At this point, you're still thinking about sending your knee forwards over your footprint. Good. And just see how it feels. So this is a really nice movement for finding a lot of length through the side of the body. Not feeling constrained. Good. And whenever you want to, you can also start to explore the movement where you let your knee now tilt, that left knee now tilts across your body over towards the right. So the foot, you might lose the contact of the heel on the floor, the whole of the foot might come off the floor. Your hand needs to stay very planted. You might try that a few times. Lovely. And I think it's an opportunity now to, when you carry on, if you want to do that once more, you can do, but then to just really see, what does your body feel that it would like to do when you finish this movement? So I can see some of you, Kayla, hugging your knees into your chest. That's really nice. There might be that feeling that you want to gather up through the front of the body after really opening out there. Yes, taking the legs up towards the ceiling, Jude, is a very nice thing. You can take your legs up, you can give them a shake out. Of course, Emma, there's always the opportunity for happy baby. So we're going to put a rocking on our backs. So just a minute or two of doing whatever feels nice in your body. We are going to be coming back over and doing a little bit more sitting with some mudras. So anything that would be helpful for you to help you sit more comfortably. Could be what was I doing? I was just crossing my legs up in the air, crossing my legs, scissoring my legs. Yeah, so anything that feels it would be nice now. And then in a moment, we will be making our way back over into sitting. So in a moment, I will mute everyone. So I'm just going to So we're going to do this little series of mudras. So I think we'll go through them all at the start, and then I'll talk you through them, just so we all know what we're doing. And I might need to go up closer to show you. So these mudras all have a little bit of a, what should I say, a little bit of sort of a, I do a lot of gardening, as probably a lot of you are, a little bit of a floral theme. So the first one is this really beautiful mudra. It's the lotus bud. So you're touching, it's not the palms of your hands, it's the sort of edges of the heels of your hands and the pads of your fingers. And you make this beautiful bud shape and you hold it at your heart. So yeah, really, really lovely. We're going to do that one first of all. Then we'll come back to Pushpata Mudra, which is the one we did a little while ago, the handful of blossoms. So we'll come back to that. And then from handful of blossoms, another one of my favorites is this called Earth Touching Mudra. So we leave the right hand resting on the thigh, palm up, and the left fingers come to touch the earth or your floor. And yeah, this is another really beautiful mudra for feeling connected to the world around us. Quite important at the moment. And then we'll just finish quietly, palms down. So that's our little sequence, and I will talk you through. I'm going to mute you now. So we'll have a few breaths in each of the mudras. So again, like we did before, just taking a little bit of time to settle in your sitting. And when we're practicing the mudras, if you start to feel that your shoulders are getting achy, then just try to soften them as much as possible. The hands in the mudras are supposed to be alert yet relaxed. So when you're ready, you can gather your hands into this beautiful lotus bud mudra. And I like to rest thumbs at my breastbone. And it's just really giving yourself some time to settle with the hand position. And how does it feel? You close your eyes, letting the body settle, letting your breathing awareness settle with the hand position. So with the beautiful lotus bud mudra, there's this sense of the promise of new life, of hope, of the beauty of flowers. And with your hands resting at your breastbone, you may well feel your body responding to your breathing. Let's just have another 2 or 3 cycles of breath with our hands in this position. And then from there, opening your hands out, coming back to Pushpata Mudra, handful of blossom, letting the back rest on your thighs, letting your shoulders drop, letting your elbows feel heavy. So now we're imagining we're holding these handfuls of beautiful blossom. We're really taking that care and attention to keep our palms and our fingers soft and relaxed so we don't crush the petals of flowers. And again, it's that process of letting yourself settle, letting your body settle, your breath settle, letting your awareness settle with the position of your hands, feeling the open palms, the upturned fingers, the warmth and weight of your hands resting on your thighs. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. From Pushpata Mudra, we'll keep the right hand where it is and bring the left fingertips down to touch the floor beside you. So we have this connection here. I always think about in this one, the right palm is connecting us with the sky, the air, the energy, the life we get through the inhalation. And then the left hand is connecting us with the earth, with the ground. That feeling of support we get as we exhale. So it might be as you breathe, this is with your upright palm, receiving the inhalation. And as you exhale, your awareness is with those fingertips on the ground. That sense of the ground beneath us, supporting us, helping us to feel connected. So let's just sit here maybe for 3 or 4 more cycles of breath, receiving the inhalation, palm, letting the out breath leave us, feeling those fingertips on the floor. And finally letting your palms come to rest face down on your thighs. Just gathering your attention inward. Maybe feeling 1 cycle of breath here. Receiving, allowing the out breath to leave. And then from here, and we can forwards, we can feel our palms on the ground. You can touch your forehead to the ground if you like, and then we're going to lie down for relaxation. So I'll just, yes, settle yourselves onto your backs. Have a blanket, make sure you're warm enough. I think these days it's really easy to suddenly cool down without noticing, and that doesn't feel so good. So settle onto your backs, and if there's any little movements you want to do to help yourself settle, then do feel free to do those. It might be that you let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. That might feel very nice. You can lie with your knees bent or your legs long, whichever is more comfortable. If you have your knees bent and you want to let your knees tilt a little bit to the right and to the left, you can do. Have your arms and your hands where you like. So you might want your arms resting on the floor beside you. You might like to have your hands on the front of your body, helping you to connect with your breathing. You're taking a moment to gather your awareness into wherever you feel your breath most clearly in your body. It might be the belly or the ribs or the throat or the nostrils. Where do you feel your breath? We're not trying to do anything to our breathing, not trying to change it in any way. We're just allowing our breath to be exactly as it is right now. Receiving the inhalation, allowing the out-breath to leave us. Allowing the body to settle on the ground, feel supported, heavy, settled. Notice where your awareness is, and if you're finding that as your body quietens down, your mind is getting a little bit busy, just keep bringing your attention back to the feeling of the movement of the breath in your body, wherever you feel it most clearly. So in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl. I'm going to ring it 3 times. So just stay where you are until we reach the end of the 3rd sound.